Okay, welcome to ARC TV. We're coming from the Conference Center in Lebanon, Virginia, which is in Russell County. And this is the Art Festival celebration for Appalachian arts. And we're glad to have some artists here at the table with us today. We wanted to talk a little bit about their work. So we have, first of all, Fred Powers. Then we have J.E. Stamper and Justin Trout. And each of these gentlemen have worked on their crafts for a number of years. Again, this is sponsored by the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement, and we appreciate you guys coming out. Fred, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what got you involved in the storytelling and writing your books.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it greatly. I'm just trying to be a part of Appalachian history. The coal mining culture was very important all throughout Appalachian territory. I'm a third generation coal miner on my dad's side, and probably a fourth on my mother's side from southern West Virginia. McDowell County I was raised in, and my dad had third stage black lung. I listened to his stories growing up, and I felt like when they started having all these, I was a miner, then a teacher. I got my teaching degree when I worked in the mines. Tough thing to do, but with my wife's help we managed to do it because the big mines I worked at was going to close. And so I got into the teaching, and in retirement I had a class and I saw a lady reenactor do Mother Jones, a firebrand union organizer back in the early 20th century. And I thought, well, I can do that, because she was from Cleveland. I said, well, I got all these crazy stories that happened to me. Then they started having these disasters with Sago and Aracoma and Upper Big Branch. And at the school I worked at wanted me to come to this media center and tell some stories about what really was going on in the hidden world of the coal miner. So I dressed back up and I got into this outdoor mining drama down in McDowell County about Sid Hatfield being assassinated in the coal mining wars. And it kind of got me used to being on stage a little bit. And so now I go around at festivals, probably 12, 15 a year, and do storytelling, dress up as a miner and have a whole table of artifacts. And I do a lot of education days for children. They don't have a clue what's going on about their heritage, but they all know there's mining in their families, you know. And my wife now, we kind of husband-wife team. She does the Children's Pioneer Interactive Games. And we just go around throughout Appalachia. We've been in 9 states and about 10 colleges and universities. And it's going well, and I hope to do it as long as my health allows. As far as I know, I'm the only one doing this, and I try to encourage others to do stories from their families, because every family has got great stories. They just need to get out there, and I appreciate being here. I love Southwest Virginia. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the country, and I'll just pass the mic on along now.
Yeah, and I noticed you brought the coal bucket here, and there's not a family in central Appalachia that's not a familiar sight to. So we appreciate you being out. Would you like to tell people what your website is, or how they can keep up with where you're going to be?
Yes. Website is powerhousepowers.com, as my dad's name in the mines, Powerhouse. There's a lot of other nicknames in the mines, but this was what he was called when I was growing up. And when he got out of the mines and I started, some of the older miners called me that. And I felt like the nicknames are a huge part of the Appalachian culture, because to me, coal mining is the darkest of the blue-collar world. And people really need to know something about what their heritage is and what's really going on now. And yeah, but just check that out if you've got an interest in it, and kind of keep up with what we're doing. I try to mark on there where we go and this sort of things. And I go around in Tazewell County and Mercer County and McDowell County and other areas of the state and tell stories. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you being a part of the festivities here today with the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. And we also have J.E. Stamper here. Now, J.E., you and I talked a little bit ago, and you're in the public school system, and you were kind of led to write your book, Ugly Me, based off some of your own experiences with children. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how we can find your work and what your book's about.
Yeah, my name is Josh Stamper, and I'm currently the assistant principal at Virginia Middle School in Bristol, Virginia. Started teaching about 12 years ago, teaching English, and just noticed in my work that I see so many children who are going through just unbelievably difficult times, and And recently, there's been more public awareness of the effects of childhood trauma on a student's behavior and future prospects and how they are able to function in society. So to help raise awareness and to hopefully spread the word of what so many of our children are going through, I wrote my book, Ugly Me. It is written from the perspective of a young lady who is experiencing some incredibly difficult times, some very traumatic events. And although it is a work of fiction, it is inspired directly by my work with students. And the things that happened to this young lady in this book are happening all around us now. So I'm just hoping that my work can help spread awareness and maybe bring a little light to the world of these struggling children.
Okay, now is your book, is it on Amazon as well, right?
You can find the book on Amazon. I also have a website, www.quillandcarbon.com. And I hope my book can make a little bit of difference in the world.
Okay. Yeah, definitely check out his website if you want to keep up with where he's going to be at, potential book signings. And if you have any things you're working on, you're welcome to let our foundation know. And you can check with us for what's going on with Fred and Josh and Justin on our website as well and on our Facebook pages. It's a perfect segue because we have Justin Trout, who's a Lebanon native here. And Justin is with his son here today, and he's got 3 books here he wants to talk to you a little bit about. But segueing from what Josh does, you also work with children in your professional line of work outside of writing. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your books and how we can keep up with you.
Hey, I'm Justin Trout. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I work with, sorry. I work with children that have extreme behaviors in the school environment, and kind of my job is to kind of house them in a facility and help them get appropriate coping skills and get back into the school environment and be successful. What I kind of do is, aside from that, I love writing. I've been telling stories since I was a little boy. I would oftentimes go to school and be able to share them during the reading class or whatever. It's just part of who I am. And, you know, I need you to kind of put the comic book up. I'm sorry, what was the question? I got distracted. Yeah. So when I was a young boy, like I said, I've always kind of wanted to be a storyteller. And I just started writing really in 5 subject notebooks. And I would write 3 or 4 or 5 subject notebook full of my, which is now novel, Anea, which it did go through a lot of changes. And it's a series, and I've got the 3rd one coming out soon. But I feel like writing is a great escape to let our emotions and creativity to kind of get it out there on paper. Sometimes I'm not good at saying how I feel, but I can put it on paper. And I think that's great for people. And especially one thing what I love about it is I've been at book signings, and next week I'll be at RobCon in Kingsport. But I've had so many young people come to me, talk to me about my books or how it's impacted them or what they like about it. I've had artwork drawn for them. People compose music to my books. You can find it on YouTube. It's just been a humbling and great experience. And so I ventured from that to get out of the children's to write my first contemporary romance novel. So I just feel like there's a story in all of us. And in some way we can tell that story, whether it's through writing or art or music. And so that's just why I love it. You can find me at www.justinctrout.com. I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm everywhere. My cell phone number is 276. No, I'm just kidding. So.
All right, thanks so much. And I'm sure we're not going to have the rest of what you guys are going to be doing in the future with your books, because I know, Fred, you've written a couple, and you probably have some more waiting to come out, because when he mentioned that everybody had a story, and everybody starts nodding. So thanks again for being part of the festival today. We appreciate you having you guys out. And if you're watching, definitely check us out at our foundation at supportappalachia.org. It's again Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. And thanks again, guys, and good luck, and keep us posted what you're doing, and we'll be glad to share everything that you're doing on our Facebook page as well. Thank you. All right, thanks for tuning in to ARC TV today. My name is J.C. Swinegruber with the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement, and we're here in Russell County today in Lebanon, Virginia at the Conference Center. And we are at the Art Festival, a celebration of Appalachian arts. And we're glad to have so many artists here today. And here at the table, we have three amazing artists that we want to share with you today so that you can make sure you check out their work and help promote our local artists and our local culture, because we have such a beautiful culture here in Appalachia. And first, we have Carrie Kilgore, and she's with Spiral Publishing. We also have Dan Swanson, and he just wrote his first book, a memoir. And we have Jo Karen Williams, who's an amazing artist with crafts and painting and drawing. You really need to check her work out too. So what we want to do is go around the table and talk to each of you a little bit about what inspired you to write your books, where people can find your work, and what may be coming next. What kind of message or theme you want to get across to your viewers or your readers and those who like your art. First, Carrie, you're with Spiral Publishing out of St. Paul.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about Spiral Publishing and what you do there, and what you're working on now, and how we can find your information.
Sure. Thank you. Hello. Spiral Publishing is the company that we started to work on nonfiction projects with my uncle, as well as our own fiction projects. And the fiction projects have taken over the nonfiction for the moment. And part of the fun about it is we can do everything. We do the writing, cover design, layout, and some fun things like gift cards that people can charge up. Ebook cards, we can sell ebooks in person, which is exciting. And what I'm tickled about lately is some different sorts of formats. We're doing large print editions of our books, and we have our first hardback out, which just came in this week that we were able to design and get set up. So we're going to be doing a lot more of both of these.
What is Fighting the Storm about?
Fighting the Storm is the fourth book in my Dreaming Storms of Future Past series. And this one is actually based in sort of a hybrid of Castlewood and St. Paul, which are the town my two parents are from. So I put them together. And this is after the world has ended, after things have gone very bad. But it's more focused on how the community rebuilds, how it puts itself back together, as opposed to how the world ended. So it's more how society comes back together. And one of the things I'm most excited about lately is I've finally started a newsletter project just for people to stay in touch, but it's not about buying my book. It's about, I want to share some things about me. I want to, deleted scenes like on a DVD, or after the end stories that I came up with, or little stories I told myself, but it didn't make it into the story. And of course, pet pictures, because that's why we're all on the internet, to be honest. But I've had a lot of fun. Being able to do this myself inspires me to write more, which is a huge part of the fun of it for me.
And where can they find your work at?
You can go to carriekilgore.com, KARIKILGORE, or spiralpublishing.net. And I will be happy to, and we're also on Amazon, on eBay, any online retailer. We have our books available.
Thanks, Carrie. And we're glad to have you and Spiral Publishing here today. Next, we're going to talk just a couple questions here with Dan Swanson. Dan, you recently wrote your first memoir, and you're working on more. Tell us a little bit about what Benjamin's Journey is about, and what inspired you to write that, and where we can find your book online.
Thank you, JC. Yeah, I'm a late in life emerging author, I guess you'd say. I think the driving force of me doing my memoir, which I just published this year, called Benjamin's Journey, is realizing that if I'd had the opportunity to interview my own grandparents when I was a teenager, how valuable that would have been, and realizing I didn't do that and didn't have that opportunity. So the driving force for me really was thinking of my four grandchildren and trying to record kind of a cradle to current story of my life, how I got from Wise County, where I was born, to ending up where we did. What I tried to do throughout the book was to have a lot of Appalachian culture in the book. Growing up in Wise County, it was easy to do that, but I went to Virginia Tech and went on to the corporate world for 30 years and traveled around the world in all 50 states as part of my job, and felt like I wanted to do some things to kind of reconnect with the culture myself. We came back to Virginia 15 years ago and started our own business, and along the way, I think we've realized some parts of Appalachia maybe that had changed a lot since we left, and some things that are still the same. Some of the challenges around the opioid drug problem were different certainly than they were 30 years ago. And certainly the effect of the decline of the coal industry in Wise County particularly is pretty dramatic in what's happened there. So we look forward to doing more books. I'm working on a historical novel now about the timber industry. 100 years ago, my grandfather, who was Swedish and worked in that industry, came over around the turn of the century and ended up working and ended up dying in that industry in a logging accident. And so I'm working on a historical novel to tell part of that story about the life in timber camps that I found is very similar to life in coal camps in that period. And so we're on to that, and I'm working on some poetry, children's book ideas. That creative switch, once you turn it on, I find it's pretty hard to turn off. So I'm looking forward to the next projects. And my book is available on Amazon it's a Kindle direct published book, or certainly by email, swansondanc@aol.com.
Thank you. And next we have Jo Karen Williams, and I've got a painting of hers, a drawing of hers right here, and I'll hold this up in just a moment. But if you've not been exposed to her art, definitely make sure that you find out where she's going to be displaying at from time to time. You said you didn't have a website, but check back with us on our Facebook page, the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. And she'll keep in touch, and wherever she's going to be at, we'll certainly let people know. Jo Karen, could you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create the things that you've created, what kind of pieces that you've created, what you're working on next?
You name it, I'm working on it. I do a lot of crafts. I do a lot of portraits. I like to do animals and people portraits. And I actually sold my first art when I was 16, so that was really encouraging to me. Right now I am working on a book. It's a nonfiction. For 13 years I took care of injured and orphaned wildlife in 5 counties around here because there weren't many rehabilitators around. And the book I'm writing is about the personalities of the animals. You know, you don't think wild animals would have a personality. You know, they're all mean and ugly, but they're not. They're just wonderful. I had so many pleasant experiences with them that I'm putting it in a book. And of course, I'm constantly painting somebody. I've done 2 of my grandchildren, and I want to do the rest of their portraits. And I just do so many different things. I have a lot of crafts over there. I just do a lot of different things. So I always say I know a lot, but I don't do a lot. Or maybe I do too much.
Well, we appreciate it today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And this piece that I held up, Red-tailed Hawk, you have actually really reasonable prices on such good work and good framework. This was $400 for this piece. And you come out of Wise, Virginia, is that correct? Right. Okay. So if you want to follow Jo Karen, she'll definitely keep us posted as to what she's doing, and we'll certainly share that on our Facebook page. And thanks again to all of you for being a part of this event today and helping support the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement and the Appalachian Scholarship Fund. Thanks again to ARC TV for being here to share this moment with us.
Get your $50 check here. But anyway, like I say, I'm Greg Moore, and I write songs, and with any luck, sometimes I'm able to play them, so I hope I can do that today. I'm from Richlands, and I really enjoy this opportunity. I want to thank J.C. Schweiger for having me out, and really looking forward to it. So I'm going to try to play about 30-45 minutes worth of songs for y'all, and mostly be my original stuff. So I hope you like it. We'll just see how it turns out. This first song is called A Little Bit of Love. Well, a little bit of kiss is all I miss. A little bit of hug my heart brings up. A little bit of look that tells me you'll be true. Well, a little bit of love is all I need from you. A little bit of wink that makes me think. A little bit of smile that drives me wild. A little bit of A little bitty touch of means so much. A little bitty dream that makes it seem like somehow I'm gonna make it through. I said a little bit of love is all I need from you. Crazy, they call me crazy. They don't know just what you do to me. Maybe, oh just maybe, love is blind and this old fool can't see. A little bitty touch of me so much, a little bitty dream that makes it seem like somehow I'm gonna make it through. I said a little bit of love is all I need from you. Yeah, a little bit of love is all I need from you. Like I said now, a little bit of love is all I need from you. I really appreciate that. Slow things down now. Sometimes I play some finger style songs, so this one will be a little bit softer. This is a love song. It's called Wherever You Go. Like a diamond needle floating right above your head. Song of the good times and falls over red. Like a crystal ship that's sailing steady as she flows. Follow you wherever you go. Like a river rolling slowly to the sea. Strong and steady, calm and patiently. Though I may not always have my feelings out to show, follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go. There's one thing that I'm certain know. You might be living fast and taking things real slow. Follow you wherever you go. Detours, babe, and unexpected turns. Walls that crumble, bridges that burn. But I'll be your hero, babe, if I don't ever fall. I'll follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go. So there's one thing that I'm certain in the road. You might be living fast or taking things real slow. Follow you wherever you go. Follow you wherever you go.
Girl in black from Pam.
Follow you wherever you go. Yeah, I really appreciate that. This next song I'm going to play has a little bit of a story behind it. I guess it's been about 10 years ago now that the town of Richlands approached me about writing a song that maybe they could use in their promotional efforts. I was really honored to be asked to do something about that, but I was also really scared because I thought, well, you know, I can try, but I don't know whether anything will come out. And as you know, a room full of writers, I'm sure y'all all know about that. You know, sometimes we have great intentions, but whether it comes out or not, you know, we just never know. but I was really blessed to have an idea and to come up with something, and I'm going to play that song for you now. I guess to say a little bit about it before I play it. I decided to approach it as sort of maybe a mini history lesson about our town. Richlands was founded in the early 1890s, and when I started thinking about what to write about, I thought, well, try to go through the different phases of the town. So in the first verse, it's kind of about how Richlands started out. The second verse, it goes into the Richlands that I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and then at the end I try to finish it with sort of where we are today, all through the eyes of family life. So maybe I'm explaining too much about the song, but it's a lot of words and it moves kind of fast, so I'm going to give everybody a little primer before I play it. But anyway, regardless of those good notes or not, this is a song about Richlands. It's called One Hometown. The richest land they all were told, they came from far and wide to hold a piece of dirt in their own hands, took a chance and worked the land. But in the bust of 92, those who could hold on to few, but in their eyes a future they could see. There was only one hometown to me. Kin and great-granddads born in their own hands, dreaming of the days to come and the races they'd all run. Promised iron was left with coal, for years they turned it into gold, and even now it's plain to see there's only one hometown to me. Hard times, they earned their bread in the brickyard and the mines, and then their children staked their claims, roller skates and Christmas trains, riding bikes to the Flannery Pool. All the girls trying to look so cool. Friday nights out on Dog Road, pledges made and stories told, wondering how we might turn out to be. There's only one hometown to me. Growing up, we had a few good times. The Tank Hill was not the steepest we would climb. And now our kids go to that same school, follow all the same old rules. Slow the line and hold your own till it's time to get on home. Tell us when they go away, they'll just be back for holidays. But this town makes them what they're going to be. There's only one hometown to me. They all talk about getting out, see what the world is all about. The Richlands makes them what they're going to be. There's only one hometown to me. Great audience. You're really making me feel welcome, so I appreciate that. All right, this is another little love song, and I'm an English teacher, so I have to say up front, take a little poetic license on the grammar on the title of this song, but I am from Southwest Virginia too, so this one's called Never Felt Nothing But Good. Never seen a sunrise till I saw it in your smile. And your warm touch keeps me going all the while. And your kind of words give me purpose when I don't know what to do. And I ain't never felt nothing but good about loving you. You got a way, girl, about oh, it sets my mind at ease. And a gentle, loving spirit that surely fills my heart with peace. When you're holding this old body, oh, you make it feel like new. And I ain't never felt nothing but good about loving you. Well, the first time I saw you, I saw my future. My past, I finally left it far behind. There ain't no doubt you give me something some people search for forever but can't find. So when you whisper softly to me that everything will be alright, and you sweetly speak my name, oh, the silence of the night. Said you make me feel like finally I've come to know the truth. And I ain't never felt nothing but good about loving you. Said I ain't never felt nothing but good about loving you. It's called Day of Love. 5:45 in the AM. Time to rise and let another day begin. What it may bring, I can't really see. But this will be a day of love for me. Said it may rain, Lord, it may snow. Sure as the world goes round, the wind is gonna blow. But it'll all work out, as far as I can see. This will be a day of love for me. By my side, well, there you are, shining like the brightest morning star. Said, que sera, let it be. This will be a day of love for me. When I stray, will you lead me back? Said you keep this rolling stone on the right track. You warm my soul in the cold hard breeze. Bring another day of love to me. By my side, well, there you are, shining like the brightest morning star. Let it be. This will be a day of love for me. down. It's a poor man's bed. It's hard enough to keep a roof above my head, but sure as the world what'll be will be. This has been a day of love for me. Just by my side, well there you are, shining like the brightest morning star. So que sera, let it be. This has been a day of love for me. Sitting by my side, well there you are, shining like the brightest morning star. Que sera, let it be. This has been a day of love for me. This has been a day of love for me. Say before I forget, because I have a way of doing that, I didn't really bring anything to sell today. I've run out of all the CDs that I printed up for that, but I do have 5 CDs of my music that, tell you what, I'm not going to sell them to anybody, but first come, first serve. So after I get finished, if any of you haven't run out the door and then right before that, if you actually like my music, I've got some CDs and I'll be glad to give them to anybody who wants them, so we'll do that at the end. So anyway, this next song I'm going to play, I've been writing songs probably for, lost count now, probably the last 25 years or so, and this is one of the first songs that I ever wrote. You never see the light to set your demons free, and I'd reach a hand to you if it do any good. But not even Jesus Christ will tell me that I should. Careless, careless, fancier than free, cast the caution to the wind. Careless, careless, hope you find a way to let somebody in. When was the last time that you drank the bitter cup? You say I'm out of mind and bring the whole thing up. Well, I'm not always right and I seldom claim to be. Still, I'll never understand the things you did to me. Careless, careless, fancier than free, cast the caution to the wind. Careless, careless, I hope you find a way to let somebody in. I had this dream last night, there was no wrong or right behavior, and it finally came to me, last thing I did was your savior. So I ride an ocean heading for a farther shore, because I don't believe that I know you anymore. And I'd be the path to you if I knew the way. I'd send up a prayer for you if I knew what to say. Careless, careless, fancier than free, you cast the caution to the wind. Careless, careless, hope you find a way to let somebody in. I hope you find a way to let somebody in. next song has a much longer story behind it, but I'll tell you the Reader's Digest condensed version. This is a song about my home, and I assume most of y'all's home, Southwest Virginia. We all know this is the greatest place to live in the world, right? I would think everybody would agree with that. You know, like anywhere else, we got our drawbacks, but I've lived all over the world, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere but here. This is where I was born and raised, but choose to live too. And naturally, being a musician, I wanted to do a song that's kind of a tribute to where I come from, and I come at it from the perspective of being away for a long time and coming back. So this song is "Coming Home, Sweet Virginia." As a child, I would play in the meadows as the dogwoods bloomed in the lane. Now I long to return to sweet Virginia as the springtime is coming once again. So I am coming home to you, sweet Virginia, with my arms open wide. How I long for your embrace. Yeah, I'm coming home to you, sweet Virginia. In my heart, you will always have a place. It's a long open road I have traveled just to get back to this place. From the high mountain peaks to the bright sandy beach, darling, all that I see is your face. So I am coming home to you, sweet Virginia, with my arms open wide. How I long for your embrace. Yeah, I'm coming home to you, sweet Virginia. In my heart, you will always have a place. Tell you have changed, so have I, dear. But the one thing that'll always be the same is my love of my home, sweet Virginia. How I hear you forever call my name. So I am coming home to you, sweet Virginia, with my arms open wide. How I long for your embrace. Yeah, I'm coming home to you, sweet Virginia. In my heart, you will always have a place. In my heart, you will always have a place. In my heart, you will always have a place. Thank you. All right, I guess I'll warn you a little bit. This next song is a little bit heavy, but again, as a writer, all I know to do is to write what's on my heart. And this is a song that when I first thought about doing a song about this kind of subject matter, I'm like, no, I don't really want to go there. But there was something that just kept pulling me in, and I just did a song about how proud and happy I am to be from this part of the country. And at the same time, sometimes, especially when we get national attention of any kind, we all hope that it's for a good thing. But I guess back in the 90s and early 2000s, we started to get a lot of attention for a very bad thing. And it's something that is certainly nobody's fault around here. But there's a part of me that when I see any mention of Southwest Virginia on the cover of Time or Newsweek magazine, I hope it's for something good and not for something bad. But we all know that around that time, a lot of forces collided that made things happen to where our area just, I don't think anybody would disagree with me, but we just got eaten up with pills, opioids, all that kind of thing, and it just broke my heart to get that kind of attention, But at the same time, I know that this has affected my family. It's probably, if you're from Southwest Virginia, it's either affected your own home or family or friends. I don't know anybody in this area that hasn't been affected by this in some way. And I really hope that tomorrow is another day and things can turn around and be better. But this is a song that was just kind of laid on my heart about that whole thing, and here we go. This is a song called Hillbilly Harold. Well, it hit Southwest Virginia about 1998. The pharmaceutical company, they could hardly wait to push a drug to soothe the broken coal miner's pain. Another broken promise, just another hope in vain. Most people call it oxy, they should just call it death. Taking your last nickel, then it's taking your last breath. But the pusher and the peddler, Lord, it served them very well. You got so high you didn't mind it in that living hell. Your body and your spirit, so easily they give in to the lies it tells, a living hell, hillbilly heroin. Like a raging storm, it tore through every Appalachian town. Through many a darkened window, you could hear the sound of mom and daddy praying, Lord, don't let my child give in to the lies it tells, a living hell, hillbilly heroin. Now no one knows the number of the lives it's taken down. Most it's put in prison if they weren't put in the ground. It's taken all my family and it's taken all my friends, all laid to waste for the high they chased, hillbilly heroin. Don't yield to that temptation. Don't listen to the lies. 'Cause there's more, my friends, a living than to chase the devil's high. That it won't bring you down, I beg you never to pretend. For there's no escape your soul to take, hillbilly heroin. Now no one knows the number of the lives it's taken down. Most it's put in prison if they weren't put in the ground. I said it's taken all my family and it's taken all my friends, all laid to waste for the high they chased, hillbilly heroin. For there's no escape your soul to take, hillbilly heroin. This made me go out to lighten the mood a little bit. This is a song that I didn't write, but I always love to play, so I hope you'll enjoy it. Maybe it's one that you know. This is an old song by Buddy Holly. It's called Every Day. Every day it's a getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Every day it's a getting faster. Everyone says go ahead and ask her. Love like yours will surely come my way. I said now every day seems a little longer. Every way love's a little stronger. What do long for? close to love like yours will surely come my way. Love like yours will surely come my way. Love like yours will surely come my way. Yeah. About time for me to wrap up, so I'm going to finish on a song that, again, I think this one needs maybe a little bit of a disclaimer. But I'll say this about it. I would, it's just not my style to make fun of people or anything, but if I don't say something a little bit about this song before I play it, people might think it's coming from that place. But I would never make a commentary on this situation if I hadn't been there myself. So this comes from a place of love, not from a place of criticism or mockery or anything like that. But especially if you live in Southwest Virginia, you know that there is a certain time of the month when a lot of people come out that you just don't see any other time of the month. There's a lot of complex forces that collide to put that together, but anyway, because I've been there, and I think we've all been there in one way or another. This is a song called Third of the Month Blues. I ain't had nothing to eat but soup beans, cornbread and cold mustard greens. But when I get downtown, Lord, I'm hamburger bound when the third of the month rolls around. 'Cause when the third of the month rolls around, that's when we're going downtown. We don't get off the holler 'cause we ain't got $1 till the third of the month rolls around. My old lady been singing the blues, 'cause the boy needs some new tennis shoes. He's gonna get a new pair and some good underwear when the third of the month rolls around. 'Cause when the third of the month rolls around, that's when we're going downtown. We don't get off the holler 'cause we ain't got $1 till the third of the month rolls around. Well, my uncle been raised in a stink. He ain't had no corn liquor to drink, but he'll get high as a pine. Gonna get him some shine when the third of the month rolls around. 'Cause when the third of the month rolls around, that's when we're going downtown. We don't get off the holler 'cause we ain't got $1 till the third of the month rolls around. That's a trailer sits under the hill, and they say them old boys, they all deal. Now I know one thing for certain, ain't no one of them hurting when the third of the month rolls around. 'Cause when the third of the month rolls around, that's when we're going downtown. We don't get off the holler 'cause we ain't got $1 till the third of the month rolls around. Verse. Well, the Walmart is where I'll be found when the third of the month rolls around. It don't take too much time for you spend every dime when the third of the month rolls around. 'Cause when the third of the month rolls around, that's when we're going downtown. We don't get off the holler 'cause we ain't got $1 till the third of the month rolls around. Said we don't get off the holler 'cause we ain't got $1 till the third of the month rolls around. so if anybody wants them, first come, first serve. Again, I appreciate it, and I hope I'll see y'all again on the flip side.
Hey, thanks for tuning in today to ARC TV. My name is J.C. Swinegruber. I'm with the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. And today we're in Russell County in Lebanon, Virginia at a celebration for Appalachian arts. And we're joined today with a lot of great artists, and we certainly appreciate them for being here. We're going to start, go around the table. We're going to start with Addie Davis, and we're going to work our way around the table and learn a little bit about what you're working on, what books you're selling, and or what art you're promoting. And we'll go from there. Addie, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your books.
Well, I've been writing all my life, but my early work got burned, so I didn't publish anything until I was 50 years old. And of course, that's been quite a few years. But I write historical fiction mostly, and but I've tried to keep the history part of it as accurate as I possibly can. I have one series called the Lucinda Harmon Saga that tells the story of the Scotch-Irish that settled in the coal fields from the inside. I mean, there's a lot of documentaries, but it hadn't been told from someone living there. Then I had a mystery series, and the first one was Fatal Love of Place. And it was strange. Now, there's 3 books in that series, but in the second book, which is A Fatal Web of Deceit, a woman named Margie Meadows was put on the witness stand, and she revealed a secret that she kept all of her life. And then she passed out, and they had to take her to the hospital. So all my readers said, tell us Margie's story. So this is Margie Meadows' story, and I was so pleased. I told Victoria Fletcher with Hoop Books published the book, and I said, Vicki, I need a certain little girl for that. I said, I can see her in my mind. She said, tell me what she looks like. Well, she found one, but she had, instead of the brown reddish hair she had, and she had blonde hair and blue eyes. Vicki did something, she's a genius with that, and changed that picture. And that picture has sold this book, so much of it. And I'm just, Margie Meadows captured my heart, and everybody that's read the story said, I don't know how that little girl survived, but, and I said, it's a story of the will to live. If you want to survive, you'll make it some way. And they say if somebody closes the door, you'll find a window. You'll get by. And that's the story of Margie Meadows and what she did to overcome adversity. And the human spirit is very strong. So that's been what I've been about.
So where can they find your books?
I have a new website called adeliadavis.com, and a lady out in California is setting it up. I'm trying to do some internet marketing because I'm getting too old, to be honest with you, to keep carrying suitcases of books around. So I thought, if I can't go that way, my books are going to be there and be like the ones that burned when I was young. I had suitcases of writing that Mama thought was junk, and she burned it. So that early work is gone. But I published the first book in 1997, and Greg Horn over here helped me to get it done. So I have connections with a lot of these fine young people. They've been very helpful to me, such as JC.
You're also on Amazon.com?
I am.
So make sure you check out her books and her website. And we're going to move next to Willie. Now, Willie, you can introduce yourself and your books. You've been all over the place. You've been doing book signings, been doing some radio too. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on and a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been mostly working on my latest series, the Gravedigger series. It is about a girl who is a gravedigger, unusual profession for a female, and her life in this little town, and then she meets someone and her life comes to an end, and that's really where the story starts. You're taken kind of on an adventure into the underworld, into the afterlife, and each book incorporates a little more mythology from different religions, different cultures, and it's been a really fun series to write. I'm on the 4th one right now, getting ready to start on the 5th. And they're also available on Audible. And everyone who's listened to them on Audible just absolutely loves my narrator. So those are on Amazon and Audible. And then I have my website, authorwilliedalton.com, and a Facebook page. Most people right now, if you ask them about my books, will tell you I'm really behind getting the fourth one out, but I'm working on it. So.
Thanks. And yeah, Will, I noticed before you write on a whirlwind pace, really. So when you think you're being slow, I write novels too, for anybody that don't know, and she's going to outpace me in like no time. So, and we have a lot of great crafts makers here today too. And I was noticing back there all the wind chimes that are set up, and you have such good craftsmanship back there. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what kind of motivated you to do this type of art, and where we can find this. This is some really great stuff.
My name is Donna Couch. I started this just sitting in the craft room one day, and I looked at this and I looked at that, and I thought, wonder what that will look like if I put it together. And this is what we came up with. Everyone's unique. They'll never be two alike. You can find these and other crafts that we do at the Lebanon Farmers Market. We're down there twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Now, I noticed some of the other crafts that you have back there, too. You just take things from around your house and just things that are thrown out from places and just turn them into art?
I go to yard sales to find the tops and flea markets and antique sales, just wherever.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. So if you're out in Lebanon at the farmer's market, stop by and check out Donna Couch's work. It's really good stuff. All right, you have me at Jams and Jellies. Okay. You'll be seeing me again. But thank you again, everybody, for being here at the festival today, and thank you again for tuning in. Thanks again to ARC TV, and I do want to take just a moment to thank some of the sponsors that we had of the event. A lot of local businesses really stepped up and helped us put up this free event for people. So David Mullins Wealth Management, the Appalachian Authors Guild, Mountain Heritage Inc., and the Law Office of Frank Kilgore over in St. Paul, as well as Lebanon Insurance and Eagles Landing Insurance. And let's not forget our pals down at the Stone Mountain Distillery. So thanks again, everybody. We even got the Moonshine folks to help us out. So thanks again. We really appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions for us, you can always check out our foundation at www.supportappalachia.org. Thanks again, and we appreciate all the support we give at the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. Thank you. Hey, thanks for tuning in today to ARC TV. My name is J.C. Swinegruber. I'm with the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement, and we're here in Russell County today in Lebanon, Virginia at the Conference Center at Art Festival called A Celebration of Appalachian Arts. And we've been really fortunate today to have so many great local and regional artists come out to share their work. And we have three more here today sitting here at the table with us. And what we'll do is we'll just go left to right, ask a couple of questions, let you tell us a little bit about your work, who you are, and where people can find your work online. And let's go ahead and start to my left here. We'll start with Gail Trent. Gail, you're a local writer. You've been writing for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about what a cozy mystery is that you write, and tell us a little bit about what you're working on now and where we can find your work.
Okay. I'm writing currently as Gail Leeson. I have had a couple of different pen names. I've written as Amanda Lee. I had an embroidery mystery series. Then for the same publisher, I wrote this book, and they wanted me to be Gail Leeson, so I would be closer to Amanda Lee on the bookshelf. So go figure, publishers. But a cozy mystery is a kinder, gentler mystery. Think of Mayberry Meets Desperate Housewives instead of something gory, and it's more about the puzzle solving than the murder. There you go. That's a good example of a cozy. I had a friend who was a U.S. Marshal, and he said, when you leave Southwest Virginia, you're more likely to be killed by strangers, but in Southwest Virginia, you'll be killed by people who love you. So you can find me at gailleeson.com. This is my latest book. It's set in Abingdon, Virginia. And the tagline is, what if you discovered your lively new friend was actually a ghost? And the woman opens up a design shop. She likes retro fashions, and she opens up a design shop, and she finds out that there's a ghost in residence, and then there's a murder, and she and the ghost need to solve the mystery.
Sounds like a really fun book, and you're also on Amazon. Is that correct? People can find you on Amazon
Yes.
as well. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And next we've got Jason. You're with Spiral Publishing also. Tell us a little bit about some of your books and what you're working on now, where we can find those.
Okay, so I'm Jason Adams. I write as Jason Adams. My books I write a little bit of everything. I write science fiction, fantasy, ghost stories, thrillers, and these are just 4 of the titles that I have out right now. I write a lot of short stories. I really enjoy the short form. It lets me dig into one aspect of what's going on. In fact, I've got a historical fiction short story coming up in the next issue of Pulp House magazine, and a few more coming out with Pulp House down the road. A lot of my books are based on just things that go together in an odd way in my head. For instance, Mick and Malvern is what would happen if you took a hard-boiled detective and dropped him into the Grimm Brothers fairy tale world. He has trouble because he doesn't speak the language. To Catch a Thief is just a basic Haint story set in my hometown of Clintwood. Some names have been changed to protect the guilty. And, Agonist, we lived in Atlanta for years, so I wrote a thriller set in Atlanta. I try to take things that I know that I'm close to, family, friends, show up my books all the time. Places I've been to or places I enjoy show up there all the time. Even the fantasy stuff generally has something to do with my real life. You can find my books at jasonadams.info. Of course, you can find mine and Carrie's books all at spiralpublishing.net. And be glad to have somebody drop by and visit.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. And our last artist here at the table today is Gary Quassip. And I'm going to just give you it's kind of a brief intro because I got to know Gary from a previous festival and we've met a few times. Gary has a good history, a long history in the arts, and a history with Marvel. So he was one of the last, as they say, one of the last great artists at the Savage Sword of Conan. And he's also, now he's doing self-published some work he's brought here today. So I'll let you take a look at that. I'll go ahead and pass this over. But again, another amazing artist we've been lucky to have here today with us.
So my name is Gary Quappus, and but this is my book. It's not self-published, but it's got a publisher and it's available on Amazon. So it's about the I did self-publish some Civil War books that were actual real Civil War stories, and then I was at Gettysburg and I was talking to the reenactors, and I told them when I was up at Marvel I was trying to get them interested in the idea of doing Civil War books, and they weren't that interested. And I said, well, what if I did like zombie Civil War? And they said they might be interested in that. And I was telling this to the reenactors thinking that they would go, oh no, we love the Civil War. And they were like, oh, you mean Walking Dead Civil War? It's like, we'd really be into that. So I said, okay, I'll start thinking about that. And on the way home, I started thinking about it, and I talked to my my writing partner, Chuck Dixon, and told him what I was thinking about, maybe doing something with zombies or something, and he said he'd rather work in a dry cleaner than do a zombie Civil War. So I took that as a challenge and decided, like, hey, what could I come up with? And so I started thinking about how I could do something I didn't want to do. There's actually a lot of zombie Civil War stuff, you'd be surprised. But I wanted to do something that had, since our Civil War books were about the actual Civil War, I wanted to figure out how I could fit something into the Civil War. And I was thinking, well, who would be the natural guy to do it? And I thought, well, Stonewall Jackson, because he was dead. And so I thought, well, and then the more I started thinking about it, I just came up with a story. And rather than being unknown history, or rather than being alternative fiction, it's unknown history. So this actually tells why Gettysburg is Gettysburg and what happened afterwards. And it actually all has to do with zombies, the reanimated Stonewall Jackson, and the devil who takes over a dead monkey and is trying to destroy America. But it's all real, because this will explain, if you know anything about Gettysburg, there's like the mystery of why Stuart left the army and why they did Pickett's charge. And the answer is all because of zombies. So, and we just let you know about that in here.
And you wonder why I really like artists, because you can have 3 artists like this at a table and just throw 3 items out there, a missing coin, a dead monkey, and the Afghani war, and who knows what they would come up with. That was true. So, but thanks again, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you being a part of this this festival today. And also, your website was GaryKComicArt.com. And yeah, no one can spell Quapis, right? So GaryKComicArt.com. And we also, from time to time, we also post up on our Facebook page for the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. We post up links to everybody's pages, and if they have new books out, they're always welcome to let us know so we can kind of promote that on our sites too. So thanks again for everybody. Thanks again for ARC TV for being here, and we look forward to seeing you at the next festival. All right, thanks for tuning in to ARC TV today. My name is J.C. Swinegruber. I'm with the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. And today we're in Russell County at the Convention Center in Lebanon, Virginia, at the Arts Festival, a celebration of Appalachian arts. And we've been lucky enough to have so many artists show up today to show off their wares and works and their crafts. And here at the table, we have three amazing artists here with us. First of all, we have Sylvia Nichols. I'll start with her. Sylvia's been a writer for quite a while, and she has a number of titles to her name. Sylvia, tell us a little bit about what got you writing in the first place, what motivated you, and where we can find your work, and a little bit about your books.
Okay, I started writing before I retired, actually, which was in the 80s or so, but I didn't really consider submitting for quite a while because I was more or less learning my craft. But I finally did. I began submitting and got the usual stack of rejections before I finally got a acceptance in a small, very small circulation. Well, it's not such small circulation magazine. It's just not well known because it's about a planned living in a community and so on. But it was a sort of a speculative sci-fi story, which surprised me when they accepted it, but that was my first publication, and I was glad of it, glad to get it. I wrote several different things at first. My first book was my early life, a memoir up until I was nearly in my teens, and that just kind of whetted my appetite to get started writing, and then I branched out and now I write mostly mysteries because that's really what I like. It's what I love to read, and so it became what I love to write too. My newest books are mysteries. This one is my very newest. It's Disguised for Death. I self-published it first, and then a publisher, a small publisher, independent publisher, picked it up, and that's the result. And then I have self-published my other mystery series, which involves a young woman, well, relatively young, younger than me, PI, and they're both set in this area similar. Well, it is northeast Tennessee, in a small town very much like Kingsport, Tennessee, where I live, and they go on cases. Well, she does. Cameron Locke, the female PI, does. She gets cases and investigates them, and the latest one, which I have yet to publish, is she gets to go to Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, and it has kind of sort of a different ending. So I'm hoping it will be well received too. And you can see my books are available online and at events like this, as well as wherever I can get somebody to put them in their shop, which there is a shop in Kingsport that carries them. But my website is Ramblin' Scribe, RAMBLINSCRIBE.com, and you can see a list of all my books there, and also on Amazon and other online venues. They're in print and ebook, so I hope you'll check them out.
Thank you much, Sylvia. I'm going to adjust here because I'm a little tangled up here at this table. So excuse me for that. So next we want to kind of pass the mic on over to Linda Hoagland. And Linda Hoagland, for those of you who may have met her at several book signings all around the region, Linda probably has a writing pace that will outpace the best of anybody. I would challenge any famous author to keep up with her pace. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her work and where you can find it. She's also a crafts maker with Afghans. And I would love for you to tell people how many books you've written and only how long it took you. All right, thank you.
I have, as you requested, I have written 30 books, most of which are mysteries because that's what I like to do. I do nonfiction also, and short stories and poetry, and I even have a couple of stage plays. So I have a little bit of writing and dabbling with everything, and I will continue to do that. I started writing when I was young, but I didn't do anything with it. And when I reached the age of 50, I realized, okay, I need to do something now, or it's going to be too late. So by the time I was 58, I had my first one published, and I'm now 70, and I have 30. So I've had a little bit stronger, faster pace than most people, but time's wasting, so I've got to get it done. This is my newest snooping book. This is the 7th one. I'm working on the 8th one now. Snooping Can Be Scary. It is published by Jan Carroll Publishing out of Johnson City, Tennessee. I do one for them hopefully every year. I'm working on number 8 now, and hopefully I'll get it finished, but if I don't, it'll be next year. But it'll be number 8. This is Dangerous Shadow, and it is done by Hoots Books Publishing. And this is probably the most economical way to go for me, but I continue to use Jan Carroll because of the fact that they have been so good for me and to get me started writing a mystery series. I've always done mysteries. I just never thought of doing one with the same characters all the way through. And it's been fun. I've enjoyed that. I can be reached at Linda's Books and Angels. That's my website. And the angels means I design and make angel Afghans, okay? And they are also on the website. And I continue to sell them, and I try to make them as fast as I can, but it's competing a lot with my writing. So I have a hard time sometimes. But if you want to get a hold of me, Linda's Books and Angels, and my website has a contact page, and you can get a hold of me. My books are listed on all of them, and so are my angels. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, talk about a fast writing pace, right? I could never live up to that. And our last guest here at the table today, Kathy Shearer, I was wondering about her table, and we spoke a little while ago, and it's amazing how much local history here in Appalachia is lost, and it is a rare pleasure when you talk to somebody that has so much knowledge of local history and regional history and has managed to put all this into several of her works. So Kathy, tell us a little bit about what book you brought here to the table, and a little bit about what you're working on next.
Thank you, JC. Well, this book is about Cleveland, Virginia, that is. There's probably a Cleveland in every state, and of course was named for President Cleveland. And this town just boomed because of the railroad. It wouldn't exist without the railroad. But it was built to serve railroad travelers back in about the same time as President Cleveland arrived, back in the late 1800s. People needed a place to stay, people needed a place to eat, people needed a place to buy things, and so there was, and of course the railroad was on its way to the coal fields. Cleveland was not its only destination. But my main interest here was talking to the people who grew up there and what their lives were like living in a railroad town. And they told me their stories, what it was like. One of the stories I love to tell is when the train was coming, everybody knew when it was due at the station, and they would all come down to see who was getting off and who was getting on and find out where they were going. So this was better than television, and it was before television. So, this was entertainment. And I enjoyed meeting people and hearing about their lives. It's very unusual. Most county seats have the railroad coming through. That was very important. Russell County is one of the few that does not. And so the farmers and people in Lebanon would have to go to Cleveland to get their work done if they needed to use the train. Cleveland had a huge stockyard down in front of the depot, and that's where they would take the cattle and the hogs, and they drove turkeys from the countryside over to Cleveland. Just amazing trying to drive a flock of turkeys anywhere, because at night they fly up in the trees and roost, and then you would have to spend the night sleeping under the tree. So it's quite a challenge. But the people I met could remember back to those days. One woman, she was just in high school, and she would get on the train on Friday evening and go to Cincinnati. And she could go via various towns along the way where she'd have to change, but her dad worked for the railroad, and so she got a free ticket, and she could ride, and she'd get to Cincinnati, and she'd see the Cincinnati Reds play baseball. And she said if it was a doubleheader, I stayed all the way through. And then she'd be back by Monday to get back in school. So this was very exciting. People just loved to use the train, and it was different. And then in the 70s, all of that faded away, and the town has really decreased in size. It's very, very small. However, there is an effort to revitalize Cleveland now as a recreational stop on the Clinch River, and they've recently put in a really nice new park right on the river, and they have a swinging bridge and a wooden walkway down to a campground that they're developing, and so it's really starting to come back to life, which is very exciting. So this book is full of oral histories and old photographs from the good old days, and I enjoyed meeting the people and getting their histories.
Is there a website we can find you at?
Yes, my company is called Clinch Mountain Press, and the website is clinchmtnpress.net. Okay.
Yeah, some really fascinating books too. So we have so many great artists again. Thank you all for being a part of the event today. Thanks again to ARC TV for having us. For those of you that are interested in our foundation, you can search us on Facebook under Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. And our website is www.supportappalachia.org. Check us out on our website, and we'd love to have your support as well. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at our next event. Hey, welcome to ARC TV. My name is J.C. Swinegruber, and I'm with the Foundation for Appalachian Advancement. Today we're in Russell County at the Convention Center in Lebanon, Virginia, at a celebration for Appalachian arts. And we have been very fortunate today to have so many different artists come out and share their work with us. And right now we have at the table Alfred Patrick. Mr. Patrick has written quite a few books, and we appreciate you for being here at our festival today. Tell us a little bit about, you brought Journey to the Light up here. Tell us a little bit about your book and what you're working on now.
Okay. I have 5 novels published. They're all set in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. One of them is a historical novel, historical fiction. But this is my latest book, Journey to the Light, and it's based on, it's a coal mining oriented book, based in large part on some information that my dad had recorded over the years. He was a miner for a few years early in life, dropped out of school and started mining before he was even a teenager. To help support the family. This was in the time of just before the Depression started, but he lived on a little mountain farm over in Russell County, and family was having a hard time. So he became a coal miner and was for several years. My first book was published about 6-7 years ago, and I didn't even start writing until I had retired from my real job, which was I was a college professor and administrator. Never thought I would write anything in fiction, but one of my sisters kept pushing me to get involved with a little story that involved the death of a family member, and I ended up building my first book story was around that, and the following books just some idea came to me, and I pursued it, and have ended up with the 5 that I now have published.
Now, what are you working on now?
At this point, I don't have anything going. I've just finished this latest one. It's just now available. My books are available on Amazon and some other places, but I've got an idea that I've been tossing around a little bit, maybe having to do with the Appalachian Trail. I hiked the Appalachian Trail several years back, and I may try to weave a novel around that, some of those experiences.
That's fascinating that you hiked the entire trail. Not many people can actually say that. So yeah, I think people would love to have a book like that. I hope you can settle in and write that too. You came a long way today too. You said you came from Richmond, Kentucky, and we appreciate you coming such a long way to be with us here in Southwest Virginia and Lebanon. Well, there's nowhere quite like home, here in this part of the, and these mountains, these Appalachian Mountains. And as far as our foundation, we're so honored and pleased to be able to promote so many artists. It is really a pleasure to do so. And we're going to do something a little bit different because we've talked to a lot of artists today, and one of the things I didn't do is I didn't do anything today to promote any of my own art. But I recently had a book came out, a biblical thriller, and I decided since we had a few minutes here on this episode, I would show this. This is a book called Revelation Calling. This is a book that was probably about 1.5 years in the making. I went to Elberton, Georgia to visit a notorious site that is well known among conspiracy theorists called the Georgia Guidestones. And you can easily find out a lot of information about this by just Googling America's Stonehenge. The mystery behind that actually fascinated me so much. And essentially what somebody anonymously had put up a huge monument in the middle of Elberton, Georgia, with a new set of 10 commandments for a new age of reason, as they called it. And it turned out the person who put it up used an anonymous name. To this day, the only 2 people who knew the person's name that paid an enormous amount of money for this 20-foot monument that weighs over 240,000 pounds, engraved in granite, the 10 new guides. But it wasn't just in English, it was in 8 different languages and 4 ancient languages. So there was a lot of work and effort to put this up. And he's still a mystery to this day who put that up. I wanted to write a biblical thriller based on that kind of did the opposite of what other biblical thrillers who have been very popular and actually been made into blockbuster movies that gave people a reason to question their faith. I wanted to write a captivating biblical thriller that actually gave people a reason to strengthen their faith. And it tackles a tough theme of why bad things happen to good people. So this is a book that has been resting, kind of in me for a while to do. Again, it's called Revelation Calling, A Journey to Faith. It's on Amazon. It's under the pen name Cyrus Alderwood. So a lot of people may see me on social media as Cyrus Alderwood. But if you get an opportunity and biblical thriller is something up your alley, it's a fast-paced book with some tough themes. And, I appreciate the people who kind of helped out with this, especially a reverend in Elberton who has wanted to remained anonymous because of the stigma of even mentioning this monument in that part of the country. So, but thanks again. I want to thank ARC-TV for being a part of this function today. And thanks again to all the artists. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. We appreciate you coming down here and be with us. And if you want to find out more about our foundation, you can find us online on Facebook, Foundation for Appalachian Advancement, or go to our website. It's www.supportappalachia.org. We appreciate all the attention and support that we get. Check us out online, and we hope to see you at our next function.